Hey guys, welcome back. It is Maverick here today with episode 7 of Realist Hero. So, continue on with this current arc, which I've said already, is actually one of the things that really brought me into the series and made me think, okay, this is actually maybe a little bit deeper, a little bit more complex than I thought, even though I was already assuming so based on its title. Anyways, I'm not gonna spoil anything. It is a great arc, and we left on a cliffhanger, as we have in nearly all the episodes, and whatever is it going to be? I wonder. The entire episode we were talking about some potential conflicts between the king, the imperial authority, and the various dukedoms. I do wonder, like, what is the pressing and urgent news that is such a big cliffhanger from the last episode? Well, let's just get into the episode and see. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Oh. Oh, okay. Right. Right. It is kind of important, right? Anytime you're in a fantasy setting, you want to kind of know about, you know, the sort of systems and mechanics that this world actually has. This is what we call world building, right? Oh, that's where we're gonna... Alright. The real talk, even though it kind of makes sense to have the various elements assigned to the various, you know, branches of the armed forces, in reality it doesn't really make much sense. Since, you know, you want to be well-rounded, right? You know, I get it. In the Navy, you're in the Navy, of course, you manipulate water. You're in the Air Force, of course, you manipulate wind and whatnot. But still, right? Still, you know, you gotta have, like, a nice balance of things. That would be only, the reasonable thing to do. Balance in all things. And who knows, maybe that is something that the series will do in the future. I haven't actually read that far to see if Souma actually did anything in regards to these, I guess, normal or, you know, the expected way of doing things. Yeesh. Run! I'm sure most people are like completely confused. Like, what exactly are we doing right now? Ah. I like how, all of the adventures are like literally the cliches of everything. Don't worry, it's all gonna come together in the future. I mean, it's essentially like playing VR, right? This is, of course, following, like, basic history. There's a reason why rivers and oceans are always the cradles of human civilization. And why, throughout history, the biggest economic centers have always been those cities that are situated on either the coast or on a river. This is like economics 101. You know what? Surprisingly, it's actually not as obvious to people as one might expect. Which is why I advocate for all college students to take economics, right? Even economics 101, just the very basic introductory course, because it's really a concept that can describe literally everything in life. Yep. Right, so once again, this ties back, what he's saying here all ties back to, as I was mentioning earlier, the entire food shortage situation in the country, right? Which is why I'm still a little bit peeved that the anime did not take a little bit more time to explain the current situation in the country. Just reward them later. Right? Once everything is said and done. Oh yes, Minasai. It's a little bit funny because it's Minasai Inari voicing Yuusha. And that's one of her, how can I say it? Catchphrases, if you will. Yeah. And here it's... I'm not gonna say anything, but all I can say is it's good that Souma actually comes from an island country like Japan. And especially one that's located in the right, in the Pacific, right? Because if it was in the Atlantic, it would be a little bit different. See, that is important. The reason I love this so much is because it shows a respect towards the study of history. That's what I said. It's a good thing that Souma comes from Japan. Or at least somewhere from the Pacific. Well, there's two ways to go about this, right? Right, earthquake, tsunami, but... And of course, you know, knowing modern science and whatnot. Well, hey, when has any public work construction project not have been delayed and over budget, right? It's just the norm. This is literally what Souma was supposed to do back in the real world. Alright, so see you guys after this. Well, alright guys, that was episode 7, and I guess we are going to be keeping the mystery a little while longer, right? What exactly was that cliffhanger at the end of last episode? Well, actually, to be honest, I don't quite remember if back in the light novel they kept it a secret for a few episodes on or a few chapters on before finally giving the revealment, but, you know, I do believe it is something that the light novel has done as well, you know, jumping back and forth. All I can say is everything Souma does is definitely for a reason, right? He's not really in the kind of guy to go off procrastinating or doing something just for the heck of it. It's always with some specific goal in mind. He is very focused. That is definitely something that, I mean, we can see clearly from his current character, right? So, you know, it'll all be tied together in the end, including the opening of this episode with the living dolphin going off adventuring, as well as building a city here, right? Which he already kind of explained in regards to the with his little economics 101 talk to Yuusha, right? And then of course, moving on, you know, having this basic knowledge of what would this be? Earth sciences, geology, or whatnot, sciences. You know, again, I do say that he is also it is also kind of fortunate that that Souma comes from Japan, which, you know, tsunamis, earthquakes, and all that stuff are going to be part of your regular curriculum, and you would know about that just through your normal, you know, mandatory education through middle school and high school and whatnot. I'm not actually sure if people learn about tsunamis and whatnot in the States or in Europe, right? Because it is a little bit more of a Pacific, Asian Pacific thing. I don't know. I actually don't know. So maybe some people can speak up and enlighten me as to that situation here. But anyways, obviously Souma is well educated. I mean, that's literally what he was meant to do, and I do feel like this is a concept that maybe I should actually explain a little bit more, right? What it actually means for Souma to have, you know, his background and why he is actually so suited to have this kind of, you know, you might even say general knowledge. I'm actually not quite sure, right? Because for some people this might be oh, Souma is so smart and whatnot, why does he know about this? Whereas, you know, for someone of his stature, it's actually really expected, right? He is originally, you know, think back to episode 1, right? He was supposed to go into civil service. He was going to be like a civil servant, you know, working for the government and so on and so forth. And I'm not sure in the West, but especially here in a lot of Asian countries like Japan and China, which I think a lot of the systems of this novel is based on, you know, the way that you get into civil service is actually through taking tests and examinations, right? And these include, there are a few specific things as well, like you know, knowing the codes and conducts and you know, some legal stuff as well. But for the most part, it's really a test of your basic general knowledge, right? That includes, you know, your basic language test, you know, depending on like whichever country you are in, you know, the language and literature of your own nation. Foreign language as well. English is pretty much a big thing, especially nowadays. And then of course, you know, your normal stuff, right? Your sciences, your math, you know, all that kind of things. In order to get into civil service and be a public servant and whatnot, you actually do have to have a very good education, if you will, in order to get that kind of job, especially if you're going into more of an administrative role within the central government, right? So that is why, you know, if you put it here in this modern world where everything is really highly specialized and whatnot, you know, this knowledge is not really anything special. In fact, I would even say that most college students, as long as you aren't slacking off or anything, you should probably also have this knowledge as well. Again, there might be a difference in curriculum in regards to West and East and so on and so forth, but this is all general knowledge, is what I'm saying. So it's not that Souma is actually particularly smart or particularly knowledgeable about all this stuff, but no, he is definitely in the top percentile, if you will, because well, once again, in order to get into public service and to be a civil servant, you actually do have to have quite good grades as well, right? So this is a guy who definitely paid attention in class to all of this, and it shows. But definitely the reason why he is also very suitable to be in this position as a king and whatnot is definitely not only because of his knowledge and whatnot, but also due to his diligence and, you know, his character, right? He's a workaholic in a lot of way, in a sense. So he is able to go through all of this, and, you know, the fact that he wants to pursue a career in public service in the first place, and in civil service in the first place, also means that he is fine with handling repetitive and boring work such as crunching numbers and all that. So that is why, you know, he is like the perfect administrator, if you will, for this, and it really fits well to everything that he's trying to do right now, which, you know, includes stuff such as securing funds and trying to build a city, the logistics of things, right? That is all very important. As for the actual fighting and whatnot, well, we'll get to that. I'm sure that we'll get to some of it before the end of this season, but I just want to point that out. And that actually also carries over to the main point, I guess you could say, for the second half of this episode, right? The folklore, the tales of the old and whatnot. And why is this important? Because this actually also comes from another discipline, and that is the discipline of history. Now, there is this thing in history which we call oral tradition, right? Which is basically sayings and history and whatnot that is passed down, not really written down in any kind of manner or whatnot, but just orally, right? Through folklore, through legends, and so on and so forth. And this knowledge is passed down generation through generation, and there's typically always a reason, right? If you go back, there's always a reason why these legends or folklore or whatnot exist in the first place, all right? People don't just make up stories for the sake of making up stories, typically. A lot of times sorry, that kind of came out wrong. Of course, you can do that, but typically, especially from those in the past and whatnot, the reason for these stories existing in the first place, they typically do have a moral put within them, right? And Soma recognizes this as well, as he should if he took, you know, some basic history lessons and whatnot, because this is also something that is commonly, well, actually thinking about it, is this actually common knowledge and whatnot, that folklore has its roots in truths and, you know, and wisdom and whatnot? That is interesting. I'm a little bit biased in this part because I do actually have a history major and a history background, but I do think that yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know at this point whether or not this is actually someone being smart or this is actually part of the curriculum and whatnot. But anyways, what I'm trying to say here is that this, the fact that he's able to recognize this is also, you know, not particularly because he's kind and nice or anything, but because this is also another part of modern knowledge that we know, throughout hundreds of years, through thousands of years, and knowing that, okay, just like how we know why tsunamis happen and whatnot because of earthquakes and, you know, plate tectonics and so on and so forth, but we also know that, hey, these sorts of folklores and stories are important because they represent wisdom passed down through many generations, and it has been confirmed many times that this is what basically happens. And of course, Souma isn't just going to rely on the hearsay of one person. He also went around and interviewed many others as well to arrive at this kind of conclusion, right? And basically, you know, for many people, you know, this might not be all that interesting and whatnot, but to me, actually, I love stories that can build up characters and build up the decisions that these characters makes like this, right? And to me, there's nothing more entertaining to me than watching a story and a character that is well written, and for us to always be able to see why a certain character arrived at a certain conclusion, right? To see the steps that they take, and, you know, for it to fit both his background and you know, to receive all these kinds of logical conclusions to it, it just, I don't know, it just entertained me to no end to see this kind of thing. You know, there are times, even in fantasy works, right? Even in fantasy works, I always say I can totally assume some things to be just purely fantastical, and you know, just leave it there, right? You always got to add a element of unrealistic stuff in there, because that's what keeps things interesting, right? If you make everything realistic and true to life and whatnot, well, where's the fun in that? You're living life anyways, right? But beyond that, if you can also still make all the characters believable, except for that little element of fantasy and whatnot, that I feel is the true. That I feel is the true sort of, how can I say, the true telling of whether someone is a good story writer or not. Alright, that kind of went off into a tangent, but hopefully that came across loud and clear and concise to all of you guys. But anyways, I will see you guys in the next one as well. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.